Well, we're almost ready for game time. Can you hear me better now? Both teams coming off of playing Rochester in Shaver Stadium. The Tigers fell in a forfeit blowout, 33-13. Trying to get back on their feet. Meanwhile, the Seagulls soared over them with a last-second defensive stop, 28-24. The Seagulls are one game away from clinching the playoffs. And the Tigers, stuck in that third seed, losing tiebreaker to Rochester, meaning it's way more likely that they get confined to the third seed than anything else. Previous AFA GOAT blazing in attendance, 8-time champion with the Montreal Québécois. That's how you say it in French, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure. I don't like Quebec. Montreal's fine. And now we're going to get ready to welcome the players out the tunnel. And we've got your eye on the field for the walkout action. The Seagulls 4-1 is an impressive start. Barely missing out on the Presidential Trophy last year by means of games played. Baltimore has had a very impressive regular season run in their past few seasons played. However, this season, Miles is looking for something different, as his regular season successes have not translated into the playoffs. In fact, and here's an interesting statistic. Meanwhile, the Tigers have the same amount of playoff wins ever since Season 9 as their adversaries in the Seagulls. And for such a heated rivalry, you'd think that they'd at least share one playoff win since that fateful championship. Baltimore, of course, falling that year to Montreal, 79-25, the biggest blowout ever. Was actually broadcast on Consports, but the footage was lost, unfortunately. We'll have to find it. And there's Ozuna in the tunnel. The 2-3 Tigers. Can they make a comeback in time for the playoffs, which start on December 29th? Gonna have to get some crucial games in there. If they lose this one, it could be detrimental to their playoff odds. At least for seeding, they'd have to play in Shavers against Rochester. Now we have Titanium by Katy Perry playing as our intro song. We'll just let this play. Now, will this home field advantage and this quite inspiring intro propel the Tigers to victory today on a night that they desperately need it, on primetime on Consports? Brought to you by Skyline Chili, of course. Now let's try to get this game going quick. And we will be right back after this. From Consports, don't move a muscle. Kickoff will be underway shortly. Well, the call was tails. Miles has the choice. Ball control, an important part of Baltimore's victories so far this year. Trying to clinch the playoffs. Could be the first team to do so. Now, theoretically, Jamestown, with 7 of their games played and 4 wins, have clinched the playoffs if Montreal do not play a game, which I'm sure they won't unless Lando steps up or something. Highly unlikely, unfortunately. And I don't speak out of spite. You know it's con sports. The few fans here are rowdy, mainly for con sports, but also for the Tigers. You know, back in the day when polls were a regular thing in the AFA, Baltimore would consistently, along with the Foreman White Whales led by Davian Gallegos, would consistently be ranked the most hated team. Some might say the Cowboys of the AFA. Now, while the Seagulls don't have the 5 rings that the Cowboys do, they sure have that chip on their shoulder from all those playoff losses. You know it's a new era when Montreal refers to Lando, and not the unstoppable Blazing. But I don't want to be glazing. That rhymed. Trying to get kickoff underway as soon as we can. Looks like there's a little bit of fog left over in the stadium for the Pyrotechnics. The Cincinnati Tigers, one of the only teams with their own bands. You can hear them in full force right now. This is about as rowdy as we've seen Lynch Field so far in its lifetime. Just before 8 o'clock Eastern, we will kick off. Apologies for the long intro. It just takes a while when Miles is there. And Ozzy. At halftime, we'll have some questions for the players. This rivalry has always been heated. Now it's time to see, can Azuna overcome his #1 cross-conference foe and stay in the playoff race? Or will Miles clinch the playoffs? We start off on a touchback for this rivalry game. Now this is the biggest rivalry that is in the conference. Obviously the biggest rivalry you're looking at, maybe Jack's Express or Jack's Tigers, as that has lasted since Season 6, really, as Azuna starts off the game with a 9-yard gain. The spotting is right. Another decent gain. He spins down, avoiding punt territory already. Spins down again, but the ball gets him up. That's going to be 4th and inches. Miles already disputing the calls. But I'm the one with the eye on the field, and I can tell. Punches through for the first down. Minute 23 left in the first quarter. Let's not try to choke like Baltimore in the playoffs. And, Cincinnati in the playoffs too. Spins down again. He's done that about 3 or 4 times this drive. Gonna be there for a first down. 1st and goal, Cincinnati. A quick drive, but you wouldn't think so on the clock. Now we're down under a minute in the first quarter. Miles disputing all the calls he can get. But Cincinnati already storms in for their first touchdown of the night, and a score is on the board. Touchdown, Tigers. Extra point, he could go up 7-0. Little bit of lag there. Was that world place save? Keep an eye out for this. That was not world place save. The extra point will stand 7-0 Cincinnati lead in this first quarter. 49 seconds. Miles facing pressure, but he's no stranger to offensive pull-throughs. 2 games ago versus his heated rival Portland, that's barely going to hit the roof, but it does not matter. That's going to be a touchback either way. Lynch Field built with the shortest roof in the AFA to accommodate lighting glitches, which happen if your stadium's too tall. You can see that at Shavers and Globe Bank, actually, with how tall they are. Trying to draw them off sides. The tip rule is going to bring him back, but he's disputing it, as always. He did not, actually. Third down, and the band's starting to bring pressure. No match for Miles, though, as it's going to bring up 4th and short. Cincinnati has a little gap in their defense. Punches through for the first down. Baltimore's first of the game. Trying to draw him off sides again. In the closing seconds of this first quarter already. He went off sides. That's going to bring up 1st and 30. The first penalty of this game. Cincinnati, known for their lackluster defense, could actually get a stop here if they're careful. Miles with a 3rd and short now. Band applying pressure again. Last play of the first quarter. Well, we've got a good situation for you coming up in the second quarter. 4th and inches. As Miles is now in the red zone. And he punches through for the first down, gets more. 1st and goal. He's going to have no problem punching this one in unless he wants to waste time, which it looked like he was trying to do on that last play. Trying to draw him off sides as usual. It will not budge. He is in for the touchdown. Minute 46 left on the clock in the half. Miles with his first of the night. And that's going to get Baltimore closing to tying this thing up. 7-7. Cincinnati starting to grow on defense a little bit. Although it was not enough to stop Miles on that 1st and 30. Now for the extra point. Miles running around. He's ready as ever. Maybe trying to draw him off sides or annoy him, as one does in rivalry games. And I think this is the most times we've seen I thought this was a troll job. I feel as if he's just trying to be smart with the refs. But that will be 7-7, no longer 6-7. Had to drop a mention. Minute 46 left. Miles trying to play a little psychological warfare here in this second quarter. Will it help later on the game? If Cincinnati wins, there is a lot going for Ozuna if he wins this. It would be a monumental upset, one of his first versus Miles in AFA history. It would also bring Portland closer to possibly getting that first seed and maybe hosting the National League Championship this year. Unlike last year when they had to play in the Dynasty Bowl in the snow. A tough upset win for them, but I'm sure they wouldn't want to repeat that. He's going to try to kick this one out of bounds. Let's see if it works. Kick is up, and that's a coffin kick. A marvelous kick by Miles. The last time he did this, Portland got a turnover on downs. Minute 46 in the second quarter still. Cincinnati with really rough starting position. Getting a decent start. He does not want to punt in this situation. He spins 10 yards forwards. That's going to bring up 3rd and short. He could close out the half with this drive if he really wants to, but I don't know if he's gonna. It would be one of the wiser moves. Benefits from a phase. First down, chewing some valuable time off the clock. Minute 18 left. Trying the same play twice in a row. Kind of risky. He does still have a fake field goal left. The tip actually brought him back. That's going to bring up 4th and medium. Blazing saying to spread the playbook out. No doubt. This is what gets him in games against Rochester, Jamestown, previously Montreal and the Quebecois, as he scoots his way for a first down. 53 on the clock, using up his fake field goal. If I'm Miles, I'm going to start to run through my timeouts and maybe get some time for a field goal, as I know my kicker. Well, at least if I'm Baltimore, I know my kicker can try for pretty long. That's going to bring up the 30-second warning here in this first half. $30 left. Ozuna's going to have to punch it through. Trying to draw Miles off sides. Get some free yards. Gets the first down. Scoots on through. Miles having a little bit of a lapse in time management here. No time was run off. But Ozuna, eager to get back in the end zone, punches it in. "27 seconds, more time than Miles anticipated. Could maybe punch in a touchdown and take a lead in the second half. But for now, Cincinnati's game, up 13-7. Not talking about me, of course, talking about the other. Where'd he go? I promise I'm not mental. Ozuna can go up by 7, pending the extra point. Has to do something real quick. The defense ready. Will he be ready soon enough? Yes, he will. Now for the extra point. A stop here would mean so much to Miles. And it depends on the ball placement. You can't really see with this angle. He is in for the touchdown. Goes up 14-7. Miles engaging in a little banter, as Ozuna's been really hard to tip today. But to be fair, so is he. I feel as if Miles has ate at least 400 pounds of food before that Rochester game. Shaver Stadium concessions are good, but they are not that good, dude. Ozuna has to be right back, so we'll be right back after this. Now we're having a little bit of a wait here. When will he come back? That's the question. Ozuna did forfeit his last game, but he only did it after a blowout. I'm pretty sure he's just having some technical difficulties as we speak. Really hoping this game doesn't get postponed or worse, canceled. But while we have a break, let's take a look at Lynch Field. Built this season, still in progress. It is the smallest in the AFA by seating, but it certainly is one of the nicest, with a wall of seating. Many other stadiums envy. Defend the jungle on the top, trying to break that Riverside curse. Remember, much of Cincinnati's tenure in the AFA has been played inside a stadium called Riverside, whether it was the old one or the new one. They got a new Riverside in season 11. It wasn't really up to par with the other stadiums. But now they've got an AFA quality stadium. Indoors with a low roof for the lighting. This has impacted some kicks before, but mainly in favor of the other team. As in the waning moments of that 34-9 blowout Rochester had over Cincinnati, they kicked across the stadium with a bump helping them through. The stadium eagerly waiting for play to get going. 27 seconds left in the first half. Ozuna in the Bloxy Bowl. Well, both teams are 0-1 in their 0-1 in Bloxy Bowls each. Baltimore making the trip in season 9. What a weird season for the AFA, as we had a 3-game series in the wild card, fun fact. But Baltimore fell 79-25 to Montreal. And it was mainly a combination of Miles' inability to stop Blazing's run game and just, well, utter domination. But the highest scoring Bloxy Bowl by both teams. Will he fair catch this? That's a touchback. You would have thought either team would have recovered that. They're going to redo that. 27 seconds left on the clock. Now in the Bloxy Bowl, Tigers having a more recent appearance. Season 12 versus the New Quay Solars. Blox's only Bloxy Bowl win. Fun fact. Now we have the music off as play's about to resume. Finally, we can get some AFA football again. But the final score was 43-50. Not the best kick from Ozuna, giving the Seagulls some decent starting position. Baltimore with 2 timeouts remaining. He does. "23 seconds. A good gain. That makes the inevitable kick unreturnable, which is a godsend for Baltimore. Baltimore using one of their timeouts. 18 seconds left on the clock. 3rd and short. My apologies. 15 seconds left on the clock. 11, 10. He didn't even... That's going to have to be redone. 13 seconds on the clock. Second down. Ozuna needing a stop at some point. He could go for a touchdown here. 8, 7. 7 seconds on the clock, and they have a first and goal. What is Ozuna doing? He's just letting him through. 5 seconds and Baltimore have a touchdown. Now Cincinnati have time to respond, but they would have retained a bigger lead had they just tried to hold Baltimore. I mean, I'm not a big fan of that defensive performance, but because realistically with this defense, you have Baltimore led by a great offense marching down the field, and this is assuming Ozuna makes the field goal with 5 seconds left. Then you have a 17 and 21 situation, and you're down 4 to Miles, which, as was proven in the Express game, is dangerous as Baltimore tie the game 14-14. Now Ozuna. He's one of the more concerned players about Kicker of the Year, an award that hasn't been awarded in quite a while. But best kicker probably belongs to the Express. 7 of 8 made. The kick is up from Miles. That's going to bounce for a touchback. Cincinnati do have their timeouts. Three seconds on the clock. Gonna need a quick play, but he's not gonna take the quick play. This is returnable. From 76 yards. It's up and it hits the roof. Miles is gonna try to return this. And he is down. The field goal no good by Ozzy. You could blame it on the roof, but I don't think it would have made it, even without the roof. Now for halftime in this game. Well, happy holidays from Con Sports. Nowhere near the end of the game, but just want to give a heartfelt happy holidays as it's Christmas Eve. The biggest present is being able to present a rivalry game. And I'm sure the biggest Christmas present for either team is beating their former rival here tonight in Lynch Field. And we will be right back after halftime. Welcome back. Here is the Con Sports halftime show. We hardly ever present these, but we have time on our hands now for a halftime show. Well, there are some concerns from Cincinnati about the roof, which they've inherited this season. But honestly, that kick wasn't going to make it even without the roof. It just was a moonshot, and in the AFA, that unfortunately happens sometimes with Hail Mary field goals. Just goes up in the air and is waited to be returned. But nonetheless, a good stop by Ozzy. Blazing encouraging him on. Gee whiz. Now, the quirk about these teams is they both have a lot to prove. While we both know that both of these players are very good, Ozuna has a curse over his head, basically. Poor regular season performances. I think his best regular season performance as of yet was 4-3-1 or 4-2-1. Season 16, as far as I'm aware, as he ended up losing in the Liberty Championship held in Riverside, further exemplifying that curse. But one perk that Riverside had, their rivals, the Jamestown Jacks, did lose in the Biloxi Bowl last season in Riverside. Lynch Field is one of the top candidates for Biloxi Bowl 19, if not 20. This season it's going to Portland. But as for Baltimore, what do they have to prove? Well, as for Baltimore, it's mainly a case of besting their rival in the playoffs. The Portland Pioneers. Ari is a poor regular season performer. Projected for the 2 seed if Blocks doesn't lock in after Christmas. Or if San Francisco doesn't have a miracle run. But either way, still a lock-in for that 2 seed. But last year, he was the 2 seed and Baltimore was the 1 seed. And guess what happened? That tremendous upset in the Dynasty Bowl. That Pioneer prayer. We have some rivalry here going on. Some banter. As far as I'm aware. Things do get heated in these games. We've seen amazing games drag on into overtime. With the score of 14-14, this very well could happen. Baltimore to receive in the second half. Ozuna saying that Miles went off of luck. And that he's possibly suggesting that he's the worst player in the AFA. Well, second half action will be underway shortly. Start of the third quarter. No shot. Miles is better than me. Maybe record-wise versus the Express. Possibly better than the Express, but not better than me. What's the ring check there? 5-0. Both teams having no rings. And the Tigers, not hard to root for. They've been almost the lovable losers of the EFA, and I don't mean that in a hateful way. And I don't mean to hate on the Baltimore Seagulls when I say that they're a losing team, but regular season performances, as the Express learned last season, are not always a factor of championships. The biggest upsets can happen in the playoffs. But nonetheless, this regular season game is essentially a playoff game. I mean, it has the atmosphere. It has that same amount of hatred, if not more, as the second half is underway. Miles trying to draw Ozzy offsides, and it works! 1st and 20. Miles working with little less room. In a good way. A rare, decent stop by Ozuna. Trying to lock in here. When Ozuna has a blowout loss, he's known to bounce back in tremendous fashion. Well, last game it was 33-13. Last time he lost in a blowout, 34-9 against the same team. He ended up having a 2-game comeback to go 2-2. Miles with quick plays. Ozuna starting to stop them. Becoming slowly recognizable. And you see as Miles rolls out. Well, why do I say roll out? He's more of a go straight right kind of person. He only jukes when necessary. Unless he's trying to get him off sides. Which he does not, but he will pick up good yards. 2nd and goal. Charges in for the touchdown. Baltimore now have their first lead of the game. 58 seconds left in the quarter. 20-14. Ozuna Starting to pick up some steam on defense. Can he get a stop here? Unlikely, but possible. If I was able to John Madden my way through this with to be able to draw on what I'm seeing, could give you some better analysis of this. But Miles, he is very well known. If you can follow the cursor, he goes straight left or straight right. And I can't say that's a bad method, as it works. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. We have a packed house here in Lynch Field. Not quite at that attendance record, but very close to. Jamestown 35, Portland 35. That game last year, which drew a lot of people come overtime, but ended up in a tie, which was nothing short of detrimental for both teams. Ari could not squeak a win out, and he went winless in that regular season campaign. It basically trapped the Jacks in that 2 seed. But I'm sure as much as you'd love to hear about AFA history, you'd also love to see more of the future. Miles starting to become the dominant one of the National League. Ozuna, as always, sort of behind in the Liberty League. Could Miles go on a sort of a blazing run in the National League? Constant first seeds. Remember, if he wins, he clinches the playoffs no matter what. But it doesn't look like playoffs with a bad kick there. If I'm Cincinnati, I'm just playing for overtime in the fourth quarter, or I'm going for an onside, which is risky. Not a great ball control team, but Ozuna has shown the most progress recently. That's another great kick by Baltimore. Down to the 5. Blazing a little triggered over that new Montreal comment I made. Ozuna out of safety territory, trying not to have to punt. After a great kick by Baltimore, their special teams delivering recently. A tip brings them forwards, 3rd and short. Ozuna's offense will not be deterred as he spins forwards for a first down. Charging forward with impeccable pace might be the strat against Miles, but that was not. Rolls out to his left. And you see it. I predicted it. Sometimes he'll have great plays going forwards as fast as he can. If you can follow my cursor. If I'm taking a guess, I'm saying he's rolling out to the left again. He takes the wise move, goes forwards. Maybe he can't handle the fact that Ozuna is just bigger. Gonna have to redo there. Miles was not ready. Yeah, Baltimore will take the redo. The common sense move here. 2nd and long. Rolls out to his left again. 3rd down. Gonna have to use one of his fake field goals if he does not get good yardage there. Tip rule brings him back 1. That's gonna bring up 4th and short. But a little scary as we move on into this 4th quarter. Well, here's the recap. Great kick by Baltimore. Long, arduous drive by Cincinnati. Going to try to use his 1 fake field goal at the half here. Will not risk 3 yards against Baltimore, which is an interesting decision. But still, not the worst decision we've seen. Remember, against a good defense, the very last thing you want to do is risk it. And I don't want to I don't want to glaze a decision to go for a field goal on 4th and 3, but I feel like that's not a bad idea as it paves the way for Ozuna to get back in this game with plenty of time left in the game. 2021, minute 56 as he ties up this game. Crucial decision point. Miles can run out the clock if he really wants to. Cincinnati retains all 3 timeouts. Celebration ensues in Cincinnati. Now he's going for the onside. Smart decision here. Well, let's analyze this. Can't statistically prove this, but Miles has a really high odd of getting this one. Despite the fact that they're both at the same speed, Miles is relatively successful, as proven in that last game. On onside, and this is not what Ozuna wanted. Rolls back for the touchback. Yeesh. Now Miles has time and space to work with. Minute 56 left in this game. Miles said it himself. Worst outcome. I'm sure an onside kick return touchdown would have been so much better for him. Again, the method for onsides, really. And he goes offsides. Maybe trying to save a few seconds? Yeah. As it brings up 1st and 15. Okay. But still, he pushes forwards. 1st and 10. Wasting as much time as he can. This is reminiscent of the Troll Bowl. Minute 45 left. Ozuna trying to play. Now, what Miles has to do. Honestly, just take the penalties at this point. Because Ozuna is hurting himself. Wasting more time. Ozuna not putting up much effort. Miles waiting until he can push for the 1st down. And he evades! Now it's 3rd and really short. And Cincinnati have already used 2 of their timeouts. I'm not a big fan of this. Whatever Cincinnati's been doing here. I get the concept, but again, what loses these games are the poor decisions. But that wasn't. Minute 26. You see Ozuna trying to go offsides. This is on purpose. Miles will keep declining and keep declining. Miles just accepting these at this point. I'm not a big fan of the strategy. Minute 17 left. Cincinnati now out of timeouts. So much time is being wasted here. You might as well just let Miles run down the field. I mean, it's utterly stupid. And I don't mean to bring down another player, but I'm still time wise out of the play clock. Miles charges through for the 1st down. 1 minute exactly. Miles working with time. Another offsides. This has to be the most committed by a player in a game at this point. Declined and accepted. Now, if I'm Miles, I'm accepting these. Blazing. Encouraging him. And this has happened to Miles twice. Yin said it. Just take the yards, man. He's already... Oh! This is such a confusing sequence of events. I apologize to the viewers. Side ref gonna have to get off the ground. Second down, 54 seconds left. Take the yards. I mean, and he's... And this is possibly the most infuriating thing to watch. As an announcer, he declines it. Play clock winds down. 3, 2, 1. Pushes forwards. Another. And I'm trying to be excited about this. As time winds down to the 30-second warning, it's 4th and goal. Now he's going to have to punch it in. Cincinnati will have... And Ozuna going to try the Frankie Louvu method. This will actually work if he keeps doing it. Miles is going to have to get a playoff. And he will take the touchdown. Baltimore with a lead after a, quite frankly, infuriating drive. 30 seconds on the clock for Ozuna to work with. No resistance on that extra point. Ozuna staring down a 7-point deficit in the waning moments of this game. If this goes into overtime, Cincinnati will have proved a lot about their offense. Ozuna already having wasted his fake field goal on that 4th and short. Now maybe coming back to bite him. He can double kick this. Will not work. He'll try again. Now time for the last drive of regulation. Will he try to fair catch? Looks like he's trying to get this and run it as far as he can, which you don't see a lot of teams do, but is not a bad idea. And usually teams with 30 seconds play hurry up, as it not only saves time, and he immediately gets it. What a play! He's off! 10! Stopped at the 1! This is insane! 23 seconds on the clock, and Cincinnati can already... Wow! It did. It is a legal play. It stands. I'm not sure what Baltimore was thinking there. What a great play from Ozzy. Letting himself get stopped at the 1. Will not go in. Will not budge. Time runs. 15 seconds left. Baltimore uses their first timeout. If I'm Baltimore, this isn't the end of the world. Now that was a huge momentum shift. And now Miles using the Frankie Louvu strat, which, very nice. Did Ozuna run a play? Yeah, that's going to be a touchdown. 15 seconds left. Highly unlikely, but Cincinnati back in this game in style. And now it's up to their extra point. He budges in. Now this game is tied with 15 seconds left. What do you do if you're Cincinnati? This game, the momentum quickly picked back up. Do you go for an onside, which gives Miles better position for a field goal? but it also gives you position for a field goal to end this game. Despite the fact that there's a roof, it was going to be a touchback either way. Baltimore with 2 timeouts remaining, trying for a Hail Mary field goal. 15 seconds left on the clock. 15 seconds. Miles being smart with his time here. 13 seconds left. 9 seconds left. Pushes through for the first down. 6 seconds on the clock with a timeout remaining. But that will be a redo. 13 seconds on the clock. Just barely squeaks through. Now the kick is not returnable. 11 seconds left. And I'll do the countdown. 10, 9, 8. Calls it 8 seconds. His final. This might have been beneficial for Miles. Now he's going to call the field goal early. I'm not sure what he's doing with this one. If I were Miles, I would run another play, spike it. That gives me 4th down, and then I kick it. But now you have the chance for Cincinnati to kick another field goal to send it into overtime. And this one will be for real. Obviously, as Miles is set to kick the game winner from 49. 8 seconds on the clock. This could be the game. Baltimore successful on field goals previously. Ozuna opting not to play goalpost defense. It's up and it's good. 5 seconds remaining. Baltimore with the lead again. I apologize. My bad. Wrong team. Trying to kick it out of bounds. That will not work. That's going to be a touchback. Cincinnati. I am dying again. Is he not going to run another play then call a timeout? Oh, he has used his timeouts. Well, down 3 points. From 85 yards. If made, this will be Ozuna's longest of the season. Basically a Hail Mary. 5 on the clock. Miles opting to play goalpost defense. The second kick we've seen in the past minute. For overtime. For a better shot at the 2 seed. It is no good. And there's a redo. Now this is for the game. If it goes into overtime, it's up and it. Short. Baltimore wins it. Just barely didn't hit the roof. Is he going to run it all the way? It was grounded. Cincinnati with a heartbreaking finish. 28-31 the final. Was almost 28-37. Tragic for Cincinnati. Ozuna feeling incredibly hostile, but I don't blame him. He was 1 field goal away from overtime and possibly beating Miles to move up in the playoff conversation. Baltimore clinches the playoffs in remarkable fashion. 28-31 in opposing territory. Under crazy fan pressure, Miles gets it done. Extends the win streak. And that is our final here. 28-31. 85-yard field goal by Ozuna fails. Ozuna couldn't waste enough time on that last miracle touchdown drive. The push for overtime fails. Baltimore triumphs again. Seagulls move to 5-1. Tigers move to 2-4. Happy holidays from Con Sports. We'll see you next game. Bye.